start. Now, do you think I can speak without a microphone? Because the microphone doesn't work. So since we are all resourceful people here tonight, we're going to do with what we have, right? I have a logistical problem. Where should I stand so that we all see me and without me hiding this? Here's okay? That's good. All right, so. But then you cannot hear. Okay. That's fine. So as Art explained, this is a presentation about what we have done at the Madagascar Community Development Society that I will call from now on MCDS because it's much shorter. So before I go on the presentation, I think I wanted to let you know a little bit about Madagascar because it's actually not on my presentation. I don't have a map of Madagascar there. Now Madagascar is this big island. It's the fourth largest island in the world, which is kind of the shape of your left foot, and it's off the east coast of Africa. And the amazing thing about Madagascar, it's not because I was born there, it's really because part of this huge continent called Gondwana, which kind of separated from Africa millions of years ago, and because it became an island, it kept many of the plants and animals that were there. So now, 80%, I'm repeating, 80% of what grows in Madagascar only grows in Madagascar and nowhere else in the world. 80% of the animals you see in Madagascar only exist in Madagascar and nowhere else. And so that alone, that amazing biodiversity, I think is really worth for us, the rest of the world, to try and protect it. So that's about Madagascar. So I feel, even me in Canada, I just felt that urge to try to do something there. And you will see in the presentation that one of the big issues in Madagascar is poverty. And why is there poverty? There's many reasons. But because people are poor, they don't care about the environment. Really, their next worry is food. What are they going to eat tomorrow? So what they do is they burn forests to grow food. They really don't care. You can tell them about the unique species and unique animals that grow there. They really don't give a damn. They just need to be fed. So this is why I wanted to protect the trees and the forests. But obviously before I did that, I had to feed the people, because otherwise they wouldn't help me protecting the trees and the forests. So this is kind of the story of how I did that at first alone and how I kind of realized I really need help to do it. And I'm hoping among you here, some of you would be willing to support us, because there's still a lot to do, but we have done quite a bit. So did you? Yes. So when I was saying about the unique diversity in Madagascar, those are pictures I took myself of orchids growing in the wild. No, what did I say should stand? No, it's okay. It's okay. So our orchids are growing in the wild there, and there are about 300 different kinds of orchids in Madagascar. Next. When I was talking about the animals, you must have heard about lemurs. And Madagascar is the only country that has lemurs in the world. I think there may be another, maybe in Indonesia, but you can see them in the zoo in Canada. They've been taken from Madagascar and brought here. So.
Did you bring some?
There is one on the table there. So those are what we need to protect. We need to protect the trees, the forests, so that lemurs can survive and thrive. Because when people burn forests, then lemurs die. They get burned too, and so there are now about 350 different kinds of lemurs, and they find, every now and then, they would find a new type of lemur that has never been found before. But when they burn a tree, they burn a forest, then those amazing creatures die, and we will, maybe our grandchildren will never see them, will never know about them, because they would have become extinct. What's the enemy? The forest fires. It's related to poverty, lack of education, and weak government policies. As I said, when people need to grow food, they need to farm and they need to work. The easiest way to do that is to burn the forest. Then, they get ashes, the soil becomes a little bit fertile, but only for a short while, because when they keep doing it, then the soil becomes poorer and poorer, and then it doesn't grow food anymore. And then what do? They burn the next forest. And it's going on and on and on. In the last 50 years, Madagascar lost 80% of its forest. What you see now is only 20% of that beautiful, original rainforest that had all those amazing species that doesn't exist anywhere else. I give you an example. There is 2 types of periwinkles only growing in Madagascar that are used nowadays to treat certain types of cancer. It only grows in Madagascar. So there's this huge wealth of nature there that really needs to be protected. And so that's what MCDS is trying to do from Canada. The big challenge, as I mentioned before, is poverty. These kids should be in school. They are not. They have to work in the street, they earn a living selling charcoal. So you can see that vicious circle. They sell in charcoal, and the charcoal comes from the trees. So it's really like, it's a never-ending cycle. It's very sad. But then you notice in the back, they can see a smile when you take a picture. You say, let me take a picture. So now let me, now that I talked a little bit about the social environment of Madagascar, this is more about MCDS. This is the beginning. Where did we start? We started with this piece of land. It was dry land, empty, really, you can see the surrounding, there's nothing there. And that's why I took the challenge. So this is what it is 3 years later. We did a garden, we did a community and education center, and that's how our motto became changing the world one garden at a time. So I'm sure among you there are avid gardeners, and that was kind of my dream, to have those many, many gardens in Madagascar instead of those forest fires. This is another solution we did. We have, for the first time in Madagascar, we have built a raised garden. And the idea behind a raised garden is that you can see it's raised, so people do not have to till the soil, which is really hard work. And which is why in many developing countries, all those young graduates, they want to be office managers. They don't want to work the land. It's too much hard work and not much money. So what we do here is that you fill that space with soil, with compost, with ashes, so that it's really nice and rich soil. Look at the color of the soil, how dark it is compared to surround it. So surround it is really poor soil. And so this is the raised garden at the beginning, and this is what it is now. The raised garden is used by children of our group, and they are the one who have to tend the garden. And in the middle there, that little kind of hut you see, that is our compost basket. So we have the compost basket in the middle, and we put some compost there and kitchen scraps, and then the children water it, and that becomes this nutritious liquid that is feeding the garden around. So the yield on this raised garden is much higher than in the rest of our garden. One of my dreams would be to have such a raised garden in every school in Madagascar, because I feel it is so important that the young people learn about gardening, because really that's where your food comes from, and so it is important. Another solution of ours, cooking solutions, because again we wanted to decrease the forest fires, so we started solar cooking. We started fuel-efficient stove that use 50% less charcoal than a regular stove. And we also have started a microfinance project where we will buy the fuel-efficient stoves at wholesale prices, and then we will give them to the villagers for them to sell at retail prices, and they get to share the net profit between them and the local association. And since we started that program, the microfinance program, they have sold over 200 of those charcoal efficient stoves. So everybody wins. The environment wins, The seller wins because they get 50% of the profit, and the local association wins because they get the other 50%. And the only thing we did was to provide them with that startup money to buy those 10 charcoals at the beginning, and that's kind of self-sustaining project. We have also started income-generating activities, so those women are making baskets. There are some, I think, I don't think there's one there. So they make those, and it's the same system. We provide the startup money to buy the materials, and then once the baskets are made, when they sell it, again, they divide the net profits between the seller. It's actually, in their case, it's divided in three. They divide it between the person who made the basket, the person who sold it, and the local association. So that then the local association gets to have the money back so that it keeps going. Was that, do you think I need a microphone or?
No, it's okay.
And then in 2000, I can't remember when did we do the Community and Education Center. Thanks to a generous donor, we did this, and this really provided a milestone for the community, because then they had a community place to meet and to have gatherings and to have meal, etc. So we use it for training, education, community gatherings. When they have fundraisers, that's where we hold in our fundraisers. You can see the garden is still kind of dry there. There, changing the world one garden at a time. Rebecca here is really proud, showing the first zucchini produced in the garden, big one. Yeah. So, and here we're not finished yet. We have done quite a bit, but there's still more to do. They need in funding. See the garden here? This is the garden in the dry season. The garden looks beautiful and green and lush when it is a raining season, and there's water and there's rain. But in dry season, this is what it looks like. We used to have a pump, and then our well got silted and still silted. And so the pump has been damaged, and now we need another one. What we also, our next planning is to have a solar and energy efficient kitchen. We have started the building, and it still needs to be finished. The other thing we've been working on, a dry toilet and shower with a grey water system here, so that the water gets reused for the garden, and it's also in need of funding. We've been working on a volunteer house, and so that if one day we have volunteers, either local or international. So right now MCDS is not equipped to handle volunteers themselves, but we're hoping that maybe some other organization would do it for us. What else is needed? When I was in Madagascar last year, I had a consultation session with the villagers about other needs. What else do they need? Because what we do is really to ask them, because it's all well and good that we come and we have our ideas about how we can help, right? And I've learned this with my community living involvement, is that there shouldn't really be anything about them without them. So here I'm asking them, like, okay, what do you think you will also need? And I had kind of a list, and then we discussed about each thing, and so there come their list. So the other needs, the heat retainer basket, so that when they cook, then they can keep the food hot, a pot-in-pot refrigerator, a water filter. And about those needs, I also have to mention a student group from the Churchill High School that worked really hard to come up with this document that I brought there, and I asked the villagers there, what do you think would be their first priority? So this is their priority. I put the list here, and then we asked their needs. So number one, the pot-in-pot refrigerator. Number 2, the hay box, rocket stove, briquette, tire sandals, and a vertical garden. And that is it. Thank you all for coming. So I hope after this evening you will have learned a little bit more about Madagascar. The tables are kind of arranged so that there is at least one person from Madagascar or who knows Madagascar sitting at the table. And for this table it's me, so just in case you're wondering where. And so feel free to ask them questions. And so this evening is as much a cultural event as a gastronomic one, as a fundraiser. I need to mention among our silent auction, there is a ball that I brought back last time. And this ball, maybe in Canada we could do the same, because the kids do not have the means to buy soccer ball. They collect plastic bags and they put them together. And then they make this net around it. And it's actually quite a nice ball. It is very light. And so I was thinking I will put this one on the silent auction for you to bid on it. And maybe this is something we can show other people here in Canada. How can you reuse plastic bags? Well, we can make balls out of them. So, it's here. Okay, thank you everybody. And what is next? I think our dance teacher, our dance instructor may be the next person. Then, Dominique, I think you should come up here and